Okay. It's kind of jerky, but maybe I'll be able to finally read my novel. Wonder. That sativa kicked in, I think. Yeah. How about if I move it this way here? It'll be better, maybe better. I don't know. I don't want to reread what I wrote. I already read it, So I'll see if I can continue this now. Okay. Over some grumbling in the congregation, the imam had a very, by the way, I'm reading from my novel. I started back in September of last year, and I finished it a couple of days ago in here. I began it in here pretty much, and I ended it in here too. Yeah, right at this table. Called Jihad at Java Jills. Also, but there's another version of it called the Cyber Crusaders. It has a very different ending from the way I have it ended here. Yeah, this is the short version. Jihad at Java Jills is the short version, and the Cyber Crusaders is longer. Comes down to it. Okay. Over some grumbling in the congregation, the imam had a very serious look on his face as he went on and on, telling how the girl was destroying Islam far more than Christian Prince, David Wood, Sam Shamoun, Ahmed's Quran 5, Robert Spencer, Pamela Geller, Bridget Gabrielle, and Craig Gwynn combined, due to calling attention to the tragic end of Dragon Driver 100, a cyber crusader who had set up sleeper cells in California that became activated when this girl called attention to Dragon Driver 100 and the secret project that was now not so secret. Due to her calling attention to DD100, people started uploading the videos of David Wood, Sam Shamoun, Christian Prince, and others, overpowering the nearly complete Sharia compliant U.S. government blocking of anything hateful or racist toward Muslims on the internet after the Willis Tower was tipped over by a nuke from Iran. In other words, said the imam, anything that exposes something a Muslim doesn't want revealed about Islam has been blocked thanks to the glorious bombings in Chicago. But thanks to this whore, and believe me, she is a whore. Well, she pretty much set us all back to pre-9/11 mentality with the somewhat resurrection of Dragon Driver 100 and his Project Monster Zero sleeper cells, which in turn called attention to those cyber crusaders times 1,000. The imam looked a little horrified and said, "We really hoped that with the death of Nabil Qureshi all those years ago, Muslims would say, see, this is what happens when you leave Islam. Allah give you cancer. But instead of making Islam stronger, like Dragon Driver 100 predicted, it just increased the faith in atheism and hurt Christianity after so many Christians prayed and fasted for Nabil in the hopes of a miracle that never happened." That never happened. The imam stood at the podium and said, "This whore became a quick learner when it came to Islam, for she had the best teachers of Islam on the internet." The congregation mentioned the names Christian Prince and David Wood in hushed, frightened tones, as if the mere mention of those two any louder would bring thunderous lightning down from Allah upon them. "Exactly," said the imam. "Christian Prince and David Wood. Christian Prince is unstoppable, for no one knows his true name, and no one knows what he looks like. So we can find out, no one knows what he looks like, so we can find out where he lives, and saw his head off for Allah. He says he's ugly, but he could just be saying that to throw us off, as far as David Wood is concerned. He is seeking martyrdom, since so many know of him. knowing that if we kill him, his wife, and children, it has a huge potential to call attention to his videos in spite of government blocking. And if so, that Allah's religion is exposed to a lot of people, making them aware of the huge threat we pose to them when Sharia is eventually established in full with jizya tax imposed on them for extortion. Sam Shamoun is another seeking martyrdom. We'd go after Noun Yesbar, but no one sees his videos or reads his books thanks to the block. So, due to his harmlessness, we will let him live for a while. As for this whore, guess what? We not only know her name, we know where she lives and where she works. Her name is Zadie Saunders, but goes by the handle on YouTube as Christian Princess, being that she's a huge Christian Prince fan. Although she claims to be a Christian, she is currently working as a bikini barista on the outskirts of Las Vegas. In other words, she is a complete sitting duck for us to avenge Allah's apostle, may Allah pray on him, give him peace, for her blasphemous revelations. I have called up the brothers in the Las Vegas area to have her life ended very soon, after they have some fun with her, according to the first part of Quran 424 that allows us to marry infidel women and girls. No longer will her mischief be tolerated in the land, and certainly not in cyberspace. Her successful evil is coming to an end, Allah willing. When the cheers rose up in the mosque, the Imam smiled and said, "Many of you are wondering why her evil questions didn't get me out of Islam. You are probably wondering why he's still Imam. Why is he still Sheikh and not shaken? That I can tell you. Because I am a strong believer that the things we observe aren't as they appear. Remember, Allah is the best of deceivers. I mean, just because the earth looks like it is round and rotating from space, just because it looks like the earth is not on the back of a giant fish with giant space goats on top of it, or just because it looks like we are never blood clots like Muhammad's apostle, may Allah pray on give him peace, teaches in Sahih sound hadith, not even for 40 seconds, let alone for 40 days, are we blood clots as embryos. Just because the earth looks like it should, ask Allah to keep on rotating and only making it appear that the sun is setting. Just because it looks like meteors are burning up in the earth's atmosphere and not the actual stars chasing away Satan from spying on Allah in heaven like Quran teaches, or just because sperm seems to come from the testicles and not between the ribs and backbone like Quran teaches, and just because fever seems to be caused by germs and not the heat of hellfire, or just because the sun and moon don't appear to be traveling in a boat similar to that of Noah, not even appear to be traveling in a chariot like Muhammad, Allah's apostle. May Allah pray on him and give him peace, teaches, or that camel urine isn't good for you, doesn't, I repeat, doesn't mean they aren't traveling in a boat or chariot like Muhammad, may Allah pray and give him peace, says in Al-Tabari Tafsir, a commentary. Again, Allah could be just making it look like the sun isn't setting in a muddy spring somewhere, when we know Allah damn well that it is, like Quran says, setting in a muddy spring, setting somewhere in the west, that Quran says Dhul Qarnayn, who many take as Alexander the Great, but can't be because Mr. Great was a bisexual pagan. Well, he, Mr. Qarnayn, walked so far west, he came to it and found the sun setting in the muddy spring. The Imam with wild fury in his eyes. The Imam went on and said, Muhammad, may Allah pray and give him blessing, said, when Ibrahim was tossed into the fire, all the beasts of the earth tried to save him from the fire, to put the fire out, except for the house lizard, or the salamander, which, according to Muhammad, may Allah pray and give him peace, blew on the fire to make it worse for Ibrahim. If Muhammad, may Allah pray and give him peace, said it, then it happened, no matter how much the damn kafir infidels ask where the gigantic, huge stampede came, must have come from the huge stampede. Must have come from for having all the animals of the earth trying to put the fire out. Put the fire out. We kill lizards and salamanders because we know Allah's apostle, Allah pray give peace, is right and not insane like infidels claim he was. We know we will be greatly rewarded by Allah subhanahu for killing the house lizard, salamander, for it or their blowing on the fire to make things worse for Prophet Ibrahim, not better. I mean, the Quran teaches there is a huge wall between the two mountains to keep out trillions and trillions of Gog and Magog people. Then by Allah, there is a huge molten metal wall somewhere on earth, big and powerful enough to hold back trillions and trillions of Gog and Magog people. I say trillions because we are over 2 billion in numbers so far, and the Gog and Magog people are to outnumber as slaves of Allah 100 to 1. Yet be defeated by us when they finally break through that so far giant, invisible, molten metal wall Alexander the Great, Dhul-Qarnayn, built to protect a people too stupid to understand human speech. Okay. Maybe not trillions and trillions of Gog and Magog people, but 200 billion of Gog and Magog people in the least. Believe me, they are out there. Gog and Magog people are out there, somewhere on earth, behind a wall. We just need to find them. Allah is just hiding them. And the giant molten metal wall, which holds such a huge sea of people, evil humanity back from us, infidels, just love to ask, well, where is that wall? Where is that wall? Where are those billions and billions of Gog and Magog people? Answer, hidden. Hidden, you filthy kafir. Oh, and then they just love to bring up the surah called the Ant. They just love to bring that surah up, all thanks to that whore on YouTube, that Zadie Saunders whore, with the groin, butt, and breast. Hey, what of it, huh? What of it? Quran has ants talking like the ants in the movie Ants. Is that so hard to believe? It has ants speaking like little people through sound waves and not chemical odors like infidel scientists claim ants communicate with. If Quran teaches that ants communicate through speech and not odors, then, by Allah, we believe it. Ants communicate through speech and not odors. If it contradicts infidel scientists, then it contradicts infidel scientists. We have the logic. We have to be logical about this, oh Allah's slaves. If infidel scientists are right, then that means there are at least 22 different ant odors, and ant has to personally squirt out of its butt or whatever to spell out to other ants the sentence, "O ants, get thee to thy dwelling places so that ye are not crushed by Solomon and his troops as they perceived not." This is proof that ants talk like little humans to even say such a complex sentence. Or again, O slave of Allah, O best of people on earth, that is a lot of chemical odors an ant has to squirt out of its ass or whatever, a lot of chemicals to come up with to warn its fellow ants of the existential threat Solomon and his troops pose to them with their giant feet. If infidel scientists are so smart and right about odors that ants communicate with, then we have to come down to their level and ask them, well, you dirty kafir dog pig, what does the name for word for Solomon smell like? What does such a name or word smell like to an ant that will make them think of the great king and kafir, a great king and prophet Solomon? Ha ha ha. One has to laugh at the infidel scientists. We really do have to laugh. They think they are so smart, and they are not. All they do is lie. They try to say the earth is 4 billion years old. I kid you not. 4 billion years old. When according to Quran, the earth was actually created in 4,000 years or 40,000 years, being that a day to Allah is 1,000 years or 10,000 years of what we count. I know. Allah created the sun on the fourth day, meaning the earth with its plants and life for fertile things was in dark for 4,000 years or 40,000 years, but all slaves of Allah. Allah is so powerful, Allah only has to say be, and it is. Well, anyway, I think that I need to do some editing here. Oh, what time is it? Oh, okay. Oh, it's 15 minutes already? Okay. Yeah. I guess I can finish this thing. All right. After some moments to calm down with deep breathing as his congregation cheered his passion, the Imam said, "Look, brothers and sisters, we have a trickster as our God, and I am fine with that. Allah knows best, you see. Allah is an illusion." I said, "All, not Allah. All is an illusion, not Allah. If we die from eating 50 apple seeds after eating 7 ajwa dates in the morning, it could possibly be because one of those dates was too small or possibly too big. It is only because Allah is testing us to see if we will remain faithful to his apostle. So that is all. It's not being gullible like we are accused of being. Far from it. You know and I know that if we really flew high up in an airplane, we would crash into the same sky Adam bumped his head on, creating baldness in men. We know we would hit the canopy of stars held over our heads by the power of Allah. That ceiling of stars that would fall on us if a part were to fall. An infidel would say it is merely clouds. We would hit the sea of water. The Quran says the sun and moon swimming up over our heads. Or inferred in Quran 36, 40, 43, both in. We would be attacked by stars. Not meteors burning up in Earth's atmosphere, but literal stars. Like Quran says, since Quran says you can't leave the zones of the earth without Allah's authority. It is a lie that infidel astronauts went around the moon. Nor did they land on it specially. For Quran says moon is in the midst of the zones. And again, no one can leave the zones of the earth like Quran says without authority from Allah. Keyword, those 4 words. Allah's apostle, Allah pay and give him plus. Oh, he said the wrong one. It says the earth is on the back of a giant fish. Well, if Muhammad, may Allah pay and give him, he said that, then it must be true. The deception of Allah only comes through the mouth of the infidel, and they just love to point out how Muhammad, may Allah pay and give him peace, said Allah is a short, hen-toed, fat little man with woolly hair, but unlike the Dajjal, has 2 good eyes. They love to point that out. May Allah destroy them for pointing that out in the hadith. Destroy them. It is they who say the Quran is wrong about the meteors being actual stars shooting stars. It is they who say the earth is round and that embryos are never blood clots, not even for 40 seconds when it is 40 days. Like Allah's apostle, may Allah pay him, he says in Quran, in Sahih, sound hadith, it is they who say ants are deaf and don't understand spoken speech. We know damn well they do communicate as if they are like little humans. The Quran refers in the surah called the ant. It is they who say ants only communicate through others and don't know who human kings like Solomon were and are. Allah knows best. I bet if you could hook up an ant, a little ant brain, to a reader, the ant could tell you who the great man and brother Obama was and the name of his gorgeous and powerful wife. And since his witch, this young, pretty, seductive whore, this Zadie Sanders, thinks she is so cute when asking questions that embarrass the weak faith brothers, making them leave Islam and just, well, she will be dead soon, Allah willing. May Allah be victorious in having us slaughter her before she does any more damage by letting us reason like those headed for the fire. After a sermon on on why Muslims should eat pigs, because pigs used to be Jews until Allah transformed them into apes and pigs for fishing on the Sabbath, the only day Allah would allow the fish to come out. According to the Quran, a brother came up to the Imam and asked the Imam for why Allah couldn't just say B and make Christian Prince ugly so no one sees his videos. He asked, make Christian princess, not prince, yeah. He asked, why not say B and turn her into another Anal and Yasmar? No one bothers to look at that, to look at. The Imam thought and said, it is probably for the same reason why Allah never said B, so we could be victorious against Israel and Putin when he set up that brief caliphate in Iraq and Syria. They called us ISIS or ISIL and bombed us into oblivion when Brother Obama left the White House, going from bombing our empty pickup trucks with $1 million missiles to using cheap missiles to totally destroy Allah's finest army ever. You see, it's because Allah loves to test us, even though Allah knows best, to the point of having us someday either in paradise or the fire, all planned out before we are born and after we're blood clots as embryos for 40 days, like Muhammad, the other pray and give peace, says in Sahih Sound Hadith. Not 9 months, but 40 days. Allah could make Christian princess ugly. That fat she recently gained could have gone to her face in midsection like the average person. Instead, Allah wants people looking at her as she continues to fill out. I know, she thought she was sacrificing her looks to gain more viewers. Instead, it just made her all the more captivating and alluring. This has become our Nabil Qureshi moment, all thanks to her having an angelic face and seductive body that could turn a gay guy straight. Make a gay guy go from talking like Mr. Rogers to John Wayne in mere moments. But she will be dead tomorrow. For we know where she works. Java Jills in Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay, 10 years earlier, next story is called the Willis Tower. And you know something? How long is this video here? 22 minutes? Yeah. That thing I read to you. End.